Buenas tardes, son ya las 7:20 de la tarde, unas cuantas horas más al otro lado del charco. Vamos a arrancar ya el segundo acto, la segunda parte, con Religion Teaching Lab, segundo acto, en lo que esperamos a que el público termine de entrar aquí en CaixaForum Madrid, pero tenemos que ser muy rigurosos con los tiempos, así que comenzamos ya. Y para ello, el primer interviniente es Andreas Sliger, director del área educativa de la OCDE, que nos va a hacer un análisis Pisa de la asignatura de religión, así que vamos a escuchar sus palabras.
Thank you for inviting me. I must say I know very little about the teaching of religion, but what is clear is that values are more and more at the center of education, of learning. Learning is less and less about teaching people something and more about providing them with a kind of compass and the navigation tools to find their own way in this increasingly volatile, complex, and ambiguous world in which we live. Just think, how the world has evolved over the last decades. We have seen a growing disconnect between the infinite growth imperative and the finite resources of our planet, between the financial economy and the real economy, between the wealthy and the poor. We have seen a disconnect between what we think is our gross domestic product and the sense of well-being of people, between what is technologically possible and the social needs of people. And this is the world that our education systems have left us with, besides all the wonderful things that we see around us, our culture, our social interactions, our languages, our technologies. But if we want to overcome those disconnects, we probably need to think about a different education system. And one thing is very clear, is that education is no longer, again, just about teaching students something, but about helping them to develop that compass. Success in education today is about identity. It's about agency. It's about purpose. It's really about building curiosity, opening people's minds. It's about compassion, opening the hearts of people. It is about courage, being able to mobilize our cognitive, social, and emotional resources. And those are also the best weapons that we have against the biggest threats of our times, ignorance, the closed mind, or, hate, the closed heart, or fear, the enemy of agency. We live in this world in which the kind of things that are easy to teach and easy to test have also become easy to digitize, to automate. We know how to educate second-class robots, people who are very good at repeating what we told them. But what will make us human in this age of accelerations, this age of artificial intelligence? That's what we need to think harder about. Of course, state-of-the-art knowledge will always remain important, but success in education is no longer mainly about reproducing content knowledge, including in religion. It's about extrapolating from what we know and applying that knowledge creatively in new situations. And deep understanding is so much more important than just remembering specific facts or figures. Think about history. History is not primarily about remembering dates or names or places, but about being able to think like an historian. Do you understand how the narrative of a society has emerged, how it developed, how it advanced, and how sometimes it unravels when the context changes? Think about mathematics. We spend a lot of time training students to calculate an exponential function, but often we spend too little time to have students think like a mathematician, understand the nature of an exponential function. And that's not easy. We live in a linear world. Time is linear, space is linear. That's the world in which we are comfortable. But teaching something like mathematics can open us a new window to a new world. And that's also the way, we might think about religion, not just as a world that is of established facts and, symbols, but one that can enable us to look at the world through a new paradigm, through a new perspective. So success in religion teaching is probably less about whether you remember the events or the symbols that, characterize your religion, but whether you understand the deep paradigms of that religion, or even better, perhaps multiple religions. The moment you understand your own language is when you learn to speak a foreign language. It's the first time that you think about grammar and vocabulary. And the same might be true in religion. The moment we understand another religion, we probably have developed a deeper understanding for our own religion, because it's the first time that we will start to think about the concepts and paradigms underpinning that. The conventional problem or approach in school is often to break large problems down into smaller and smaller bits and pieces, and then to train students how to solve those bits and pieces. But modern societies really create value by synthesizing different fields of knowledge, making connections between ideas that previously seem unrelated, connecting the dots where the next big idea, the next innovation is going to come from. And that requires always to be open, to be receptive to knowledge in other fields, in other paradigms, again, including in religion. Today, in today's schools, students learn typically individually, and at the end of the school year, we try to assess their individual achievements. But the more interdependent the world becomes, the more we need really great collaborators, great orchestrators. This pandemic has shown us how the well-being of entire countries depends increasingly on our capacities to take collective action. Religion is one of those forces that can bind us together, create that bridging social capital. The bottom line is, if we want to stay ahead of our times, we have to find and refine the qualities that are unique to our humanity, that complement, not compete with the capacities we created in our computers. And the challenge, of course, is that developing these cognitive, social, and emotional capabilities requires a very different caliber of teachers. Where teaching is about imparting prefabricated knowledge, countries can afford low teacher quality. And when teaching quality is low, governments tend to tell their teachers exactly what to do and exactly how they want it done, using a quite industrial organization of work. Today, the challenge is to make more teaching a profession of, advanced knowledge workers who work at a very high level of professional autonomy and at the same time in a collaborative culture. But such people don't like to work as exchangeable widgets on an assembly line in industrial workplaces. So schools need to think harder about to make teaching not just financially attractive, but intellectually attractive, to engage people in defining, redefining their subject matters, including like religion. The way we taught, religion 20 years ago is probably very different than how we need to teach this for today's and tomorrow's students. The past also was divided, with teachers and content divided by subjects and students separated by expectations about their future destinations, where we think they're going, with schools often designed to keep students inside and the rest of the world outside, with often a lack of engagement of families and a reluctance to partner with other schools. The future needs to be a lot more integrated, with an emphasis on the inner relations and connectedness of subjects, integration of students, the capital that comes from and with families, the connections of families. Education is not a transactional business. It's always a social, relational experience. Very powerful data showing that, the kind of the quality of the relationships in school between teachers and students is a very powerful determinant also for the social and emotional development of children. The goals of the past were standardization and compliance, with students educated in, standardized age cohorts and, all following the same program, all learning at the same place. This future is about more finding out, what are the passions of students? Where can young people become really, really good at? To have a relationship with their educators as mentors, as coaches, as facilitators, as evaluators, as psychologists, as social workers. can we help students to live with themselves, to live with people who are different from them, and hopefully also to live with the planet. And I think this brings us back to the teaching of religion. Thank you.